Yanish coming at you with another video.
What is up, everybody? Let's welcome my special guest, the draft analyst kind of guy, the guru, the sleeper, the writer. Let's talk to my boy, William Yanish. How's it going, my guy?
Oh, it's definitely going, man. How are you doing today?
Doing well, dude. Hey, it's been a long minute, man.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. You know, no shortage of football, though. You know.
Yeah, nothing but football spectacular. But yeah, for all those people who are not too familiar with your work, man, tell them who you are, man, what you do.
Oh man, you know, William Yanish. I'm all over Twitter, Facebook. I write for First Round Mock. You know, the best, website out there for draft, analysis. I mean, I write up all kinds of different stuff and study a whole bunch of film. I watch more film than, except for Daniel, my editor, Daniel, he's a little bit, that guy's out there on the film, that guy watches like every snap and rewinds it and everything else. So, I can't match that guy, but
Yeah, Daniel Kelly's something else is what you're saying. Yeah, that do something else.
For sure, man. But
yeah, for sure. But we'll probably have to work on him at some point down the road. You told me you had some sleepers in the draft on offense and then like players on defense, but we'll start off on the offense because you were telling me you had some offense on the draft that kind of caught your attention or the guys you were checking out.
Oh, that is definitely for sure. Especially all us Niners fans know after the last couple of years. You got to have a backup quarterback, if not three. And that's one thing that's coming around. Sam Darnold, he's a free agent, he's gone. So we got Brock Purdy, and then that's about it. Besides Brandon Allen, if you count that, but. There are some draft prospects, some quarterbacks in this draft that can very, very well, fill a spot as a San Francisco 49ers backup quarterback. I just like, I have been, I've had interviews, I've had 2 evaluations. I've had another one coming out on this kid, Northern Illinois, Rocky Lombardi, and I believe he was on your show, this week as well.
Yeah, I gotta say thank you for reaching out to him because I think he kind of got the interest because of you mentioned me or something, and he said something about like all that stuff, and then. Checked out a lot of his film. He just hasn't played he hasn't been asked to throw the ball as much as what he was telling me. And that can be what's kind of like underrating for some people. Like in this offense, he probably wasn't asked to throw the ball as much. So it's kind of hard to tell by the film because his production was a little different. It's more like he was more of a backup, like the way he said it.
Yeah, so some of those smaller colleges, with some of the lesser known coaches, the talent around you, the coaches, the system that you're in, that all makes something that, you know, you have to pay attention to when dealing with prospects like these, you know, the smaller school ones and such. But, you know, I mean, he did start out at Michigan State, and, you know, I mean, even has a degree from there. You know, he spent his time there, you know, moved on down to Northern Illinois, you know, and I mean, has, you know, in 2 year span, you know, wrapped around an injury, but in a 2 year span, you know, having 10 come from behind victories, and, you know, just going out there. I mean, like I said, he is the most Josh Allen like prospect since Josh Allen. And, you know, that goes a lot of different ways too, because, you know, Josh Allen didn't play anybody in college either, you know, but it's like, you know, I mean, Lombardi beat Michigan though, you know, when he was at Michigan State, you know, and that was JJ McCarthy and Joe Milton that was in on that one. You know, I think this kid can be had, and, you know, can automatically be the starter. I mean, he is a coach's son, you know, and he can go out there and he knows football. He is just a pure football player, and it's what he loves to do.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
this dude kind of gives me an idea of what he is, like his character, his traits, the way he plays. And then I just asked him a very simple question, like I told him, would you rather put up the numbers and still and come with a loss, or would you rather put the lesser number stats and come away with the win? And he kind of just knows what I'm talking about. And I think he's the kind of guy that will just be very efficient with the offense and not really mess up the game in some circumstances. So I think what you're saying, he could be a starter if he was in a better situation, like a system wise, wherever it fits him.
Yeah, you know, and besides him, you know, we've definitely got to get, like I said, a backup somewhere. You know, I mean, also, you know, at the combine, I guess we visited with Michael Pratt, and he's actually training with Rocky. Has been at the Test Academy for the last few weeks, you know, and that is another player. You know, I see them as similar type players. You know, the smart ones that, you know, that rely on traditional, you know, mechanics. I mean, but can still throw in the, you know, off platform throws here and there, you know, when it's needed, you know, and that was another thing, because Michael Pratt is one of my big three quarterbacks this year. You know, those are my favorite three quarterbacks of the year. And I mean, he happened to make it with, you know, his style of play, and I mean, being able to possibly be had, you know, a couple rounds down, you know, to where the value is just excellent, you know.
Yeah, I've heard of his name because of he's been moving up draft boards a little bit too. And then you brought him up also. And then I see that he can be very efficient and he very much could be very successful. I think he could be a starter for any other team in the league when it's all said and done. Because I think the guy's got the traits, what it takes. I mean, playing at Tulane, he's kind of been like he's turned around that program. So just like how Rocky Lombardi turned around the Northern Illinois program, these guys were changers for the program. So like I remember when Brock Purdy came into Iowa State, they weren't much winners. He turned them into winners. So it all takes the quarterbacks who can actually make a difference for the program. So what Rocky did in Northern Illinois in a shorter time is impressive, and then what Michael Pratt is doing in Tulane is pretty impressive. I mean, then you said you have another quarterback that's your favorite. Like, what was the other one you were talking about?
Oh, another quarterback.
Yeah, you said you got three of them. Like,
oh, that's my big three that I do every year, and they're my three favorite quarterbacks. Not necessarily who I think is going to be best, not necessarily just the ones that, you know, that I see the most in. And I don't put them in any order, you know, because I let people figure that out on their own. I've got Drake May, I've got Michael Pratt, and I've got Spencer Rattler in that group.
ooh, Spencer Rattler. You know, speaking of Spencer Rattler, Daniel Kelly went on a limb and said this is the closest to a Patrick Mahomes. This guy just put it on an article.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, first round mock, we're definitely not afraid to, step out on a limb
Put it out there, yeah.
and
And
say
then
what we
Drake May's
believe.
another. Then you just said Drake May's another good one also, but like in order. But Spencer Rattler's kind of moving up a little bit on the draft buzz a little bit.
They were mentioning when he was at the Senior Bowl that a few scouts had him as an NFL starter for their grades. So I mean, that's first round quarterback right there, no matter how you look at it.
I mean, a couple years ago, there wasn't an argument about it, but now he's kind of moving back to the conversation. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And like I said, anytime a scout says that, says, oh yeah, he's a starter in this league, then I mean, like I said, that's he's likely a starter in this league. I mean, those aren't the media, puffing things up, and that kind of crap, I mean, an actual scout just anonymously comes out and says something like that. Okay, yeah, there was a few of them that did it, so.
Yeah, so if you see which ones fits the Niners as a backup, you said Michael Pratt and Rocky Lombardi would be great fits, right?
Yes, sir. And I mean, that's what it's all about is winning, and like you said, turning over
the program.
The program, Rocky Lombardi, Northern Illinois was 0-6 in 2020, the COVID year, and then Rocky Lombardi started in 2021, and they won the MAC championship. So if that says anything, that doesn't happen.
If that's not impressive, I don't know what is, but it's all about turning around the program and all that stuff. So, yeah. So I think you just said those are two great fits. But if Spencer Rattler slides, man, you think we pull the trigger on this guy in the later rounds?
I mean, he would fit a Shanahan type offense. I mean, I can see that with his accurate passes and good ball placement.
I mean, dude, this would be like, if we were to draft a quarterback later round, I think it will still be a quarterback controversial no matter how you look at it because of what we got Brock in the 7th round.
Brock's not going to still get any respect, People are
I know
that's
oh my god, part, dude. We can go get ourselves a 7th round pick or a 6th round pick quarterback, but it's still going to be one of those quarterback controversial. But I think Brock still earned his right for the job, so I don't think it's no question about it.
But another thing that needs to be brought up with 49ers draft needs is, I mean, this receiver thing we got going on.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we've got a couple really good receivers, and I mean, it's Ayuk's turn to get paid, and just stacking more weapons around Purdy, like at the end of the first, a Malachi Corley or a player like that, Xavier Leggett, and I mean, there's some of those. This team is built up to where you can take, whoever you want.
As a luxury pick.
Yeah. And I mean, whatever is in, Shanahan and Lynch's, little heart, I mean, they can have whatever they want. And I mean, there's some down there, depending on where they go, there's a lot of receivers in this draft too. And, like Troy
it's Franklin. A pretty deep class. It's a pretty damn deep class. Like, dude, I could just name you some other receivers that you're probably not too aware of, and they can probably fit our offense. Like, I don't know if you've heard of this kid, but I had to watch a couple films of him today, and I'm like, wow, this guy looks like the real deal. Like, I think if we were to get him, I would be cool with this pick. This kid, besides Malachi Moore, besides that guy, there was another guy that kind of has the similarity of the similar skill sets, and I'm like saying this guy can be the white Deebo Samuel. So this kid's name's Ricky Pearsall, whatever. I don't know how you say it.
Oh, Pearsall.
Yeah, this guy is the white Deebo Samuel. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, I saw him last year when I was watching Anthony Richardson film out of Florida.
That dude's spectacular. Like, I seen that one-handed catch, and then he kind of does exactly what you're asking him to do. He'll do those little jet sweeps, or he'll catch some of those short passes and make them into something. And I'm like, wow, I think we can get this guy. He would fit pretty well.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I mean, I'm a tight end guy. I think every team needs it. At least two. And there's some out there like Cade Stover that are just, I mean, don't get any props for the things, that he does on every play. I mean, if you watch any Ohio State
Well, that tight
film of
end.
their offense, and he just keeps popping up, making plays, freaking making blocks, all kinds of stuff. I mean, so that's another one. I'd like to see somebody put alongside.
Oh, you're
Kittle.
talking about the tight end. He's not a receiver, but he's a
Yeah.
tight end. Yeah, Cade Stover is the one guy that from Ohio State that can be a yak guy at that position. But I
Yeah.
think from his size, I think he's about 6'1" or 6'2", but I think he could be a fullback, like Juszczyk's replacement at some point.
Juice has already been in the league, like 9 years or something.
He's been there for too long. But I've heard, okay, so there's another sleeper in the draft that I'm hearing about. So this is a guy who could probably switch positions from running back to fullback. This kid named Isaac Garendo, bro. This dude ran a 4.33 from Louisville. This dude is a burner, 225, and you're running a 4.33. Can this guy switch to a different, like fullback? That can be scary.
Right. I'd have to check that out. I mean,
Garendo's something else, dude. He can catch the ball too. Like I had to do more scouting on this guy, and I think Larry Krueger was bringing his name up a lot. And he says this kid Garendo can maybe switch to fullback because of the skill sets that he could do.
That'd be interesting, I mean, although that catch Juice made last year in the playoffs, man, that was.
You might have to check out.
Man.
You might have to check out Isaac Garendo because that's a name that I'm hearing a little bit about. That maybe he can switch positions or stay at running back.
Yeah, definitely will have to, man, for sure.
So now since we covered some receivers, I mean, you said like there's another receiver I think that probably would be a great fit also, but I think nobody talks about him as much because at USC all they talk about is Rice at times, but nobody talks about Washington. This dude can be a big time playmaker.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. I'm not saying too much about Caleb Williams, but I think he held back some of those receivers a little bit but now, I mean, especially with us Niners, already meeting with Rice, and now you're bringing up Washington, and I mean, he was definitely he flashed a few times. I saw last year and when I was doing Caleb's film, so I can definitely say that.
Yeah, and then you look at Washington's receivers. I mean, they're all caliber starters. So it's like Romeo Odunze is like the first round guy that comes off the board, but then you have Jalen Polk, and then you have Jalen McMillan. Those are like, dude, Washington just has three damn good receivers.
Yeah, and that's one thing too. All these quarterbacks that were in the Heisman running. I mean, all of them had at least one really good receiver, to get the yards after the catch, and to be a star for what they were doing. I mean, the only one that really didn't was Drake May, but I mean, whatever happens, I mean, Ayuk is obviously number one, but I mean, we could definitely use another, wide receiver that's going to be, a really solid, number two, or, I mean, Jennings is a free agent, and I mean,
we still might work out a deal with him, but I think a guy that would fit our offense pretty well that's coming from Washington is Jalen McMillan. This guy is a great route runner. This guy has sticky hands, so it's like this guy makes plays when he needs to make plays. I'm barely getting to know who Jalen Polk is, but he seems like a good separator. But Rome Odunze's part, he's going to be gone, so we ain't getting this guy. But those other two receivers are pretty good. But then you got Xavier Worthy and that other Texas receiver, Mitchell, whatever his name is.
Oh, yeah.
Those are good ones, too. And then they got the other one that you can get in the later round also that's pretty damn raw.
Yeah, for sure. And those guys, they showed up against Texas, in the Cotton Bowl. I mean, that was one thing that, I mean, that was that was a good game. And there were some, I mean, any of those receivers would be nice to get, later after Odunze is gone, and
Yeah, I wouldn't be against Jalen Polk or McMillan. I actually like McMillan because he's more of a route runner and he's a local kid from my area. So
right, right.
played for my rival high school, but still.
Oh, that's okay, man.
I used to work right down his the school area where he was going to school at. I was working security down there, so it was kind of cool to find out this guy was going to be going to Washington or some other schools.
Right.
Yeah, and then Worthy's just that fastest athlete, dude. I had a feeling. I just made a prediction. I said this dude's going to run the fastest 40 time, and some people said that he ain't going to do that.
Oh, that was crazy, man. I was like, yeah, finally somebody, broke it in the last. They keep talking about it, but
yeah, I think this would be like an underrated draft pick if we were to get this kid because Shanahan had somebody like Marquise Goodwin who had speed but just couldn't catch it consistently all the time.
Right.
If he gets somebody like if he gets Worthy, that's like getting somebody that's more polished than Goodwin is.
Yep. One thing I was going to mention, speaking about records being broken, man, that offensive tackle from South Dakota State that won that picture you sent me the other day.
Yeah.
Garrett Greenfield, and man, he just broke the vertical jump record for offensive linemen by 1.5 inches. 38.5-inch vertical, man.
That's impressive. And
I mean, dude,
this dude, him and Mason McCormick are good together, man. So if you get those two together, I think you have a good line right there.
Yeah, I think that they could definitely gel, especially with something like this, and especially the zone blocking that I mean Shanahan, that he learned from his dad back in the day. I mean, this is an athletic dude that can get in there and help solidify the line. Give us some depth.
Yeah, I actually like Greenfield in some ways because he's a big prototypical guy and he can block pretty well. I mean, people say, "Oh, he played at a small school and all that stuff." I said, "Dude, if he can play, he can play."
Right.
I mean, him and McCormick are good together. So if you can get those two in one, that's a good package deal.
Yeah, for sure, man. And Greenfield, I was sitting there watching it, and his quarterback Gronowski was actually, he had time to throw, and he actually, was able to make plays, and I mean, it was like, whoa, I mean, this guy isn't too bad at this tackle spot, I mean, he's keeping his quarterback upright, so, that's pretty good, solid thing, I mean, wonder what he'd do at right tackle for us, I mean.
Yeah, he would
Besides
probably have to make adjustment out of it. But if you saw what Greenfield looks like, he looks like Buzz from Home Alone.
Yeah.
He does. He looks like the Home Alone guy.
I saw that because I started looking it up. I couldn't find hardly anything on the guy, and I'm like, oh man. And then I started digging up more and more, and I saw that picture. I'm like, oh wow, dude.
He looks like the dude from Home Alone.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, CG? I'm ready for us to nail this fucking draft. Let's fucking go. Shout out to my boy Gavin for the Whales, man. This guy's good. He's not a big Daniel Kelly fan, by the way. You don't like him. He doesn't like his draft as much.
Wow. I mean.
Oh, man. No, like seriously, he wanted me to do a debate with Daniel Kelly, and I did it a couple of times, and he says, man, this guy, he gets on my nerves, man, with these drafts.
Not everybody has good taste, man.
Yeah. Hey, but let's get on to the defense. I know we've been going on with the offensive topics, and I know it's been pretty good, dude. Hey, we got a good amount of people watching, actually, which is pretty good. So, let's talk about defensive players, man. Who are your sleepers that maybe the Niners should check out, or the ones you like?
Well, I'm a safety linebacker kind of guy when it comes to defense. That's just how it is. I mean, that's how I grew up. Playing football, and it's just one of those things that's near and dear to my heart. And anyway, I ran into this linebacker the other day for North Carolina State, and
Well, you were talking about this kid. I remember the guy who ran the fastest 40. This dude, the one you're talking about, is
Yeah, dude. That's like the first thing I do is I'm talking about this guy. Peyton Wilson, North Carolina State, freaking 6'4", 238 pounds. I start picking up on this, and I'm having a conversation over here and another one over here, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll do an evaluation on him. And then the first thing I do when I turn on the combine this year, I hear about how he just ran a 4.43 second 40 at 238 pounds, and I'm just like, oh wow, dude. I mean, this dude is fast.
yeah, he ran a 4.4, I think 1 or 2 or one of those. Like he ran a pretty quick fast time, but yeah, there's
I
a
know. Oh, go.
Oh yeah, I know what you're meaning, but yeah, there's a couple good fast linebackers, but I think this is the guy that everybody's talking about now.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, we have some excellent linebackers. However, it goes back to that luxury picks that I was talking about, and this dude is, I mean, he is literally built like a tight end, like I said, 6'4", 238. He looks like it,
Big tight end, yeah.
Yeah, like Musgrave for Luke Musgrave out of Green Bay, and that's what he looks like out there. And this dude has straight line speed for like none other, man. And I started watching some of the film, and I mean, he runs like a tight end. I was like, well, if he looks like one and runs like one, then maybe he can cover one, right?
Yeah, maybe, and that would be good. So, yeah, that's another good linebacker that I've heard about the most. But here's this linebacker that I like also, but I think you're going to agree with me on this one. Edgerrin Cooper, man, this dude is something else. He's everywhere. I mean, this dude's a specimen. This guy. This is, if you want to build your defense around, this is the kind of guy you need to have on your defense.
Yeah, if you want to talk about, sideline to sideline and, rangy and things like that, I mean, that's one of those players, and they don't ever get enough love in the draft, or, they're like tight ends, I mean, nobody cares about the linebackers,
Not as much unless they set the physical hits or something like that.
Right. Until you get in there, that was like Rocky Lombardi mentioning watching Ray Lewis growing up. I'm like, yeah, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I was like, that's cool as hell.
Yeah, there's some good ones too. There's some good linebackers. There's the Cedric Great guy, and then there's Jeremiah Trotter Jr. That's another good one. I mean, it's pretty deep class. Like, it's not as bad as everybody says it is, but yeah, like I think, like you said, you're a linebackers or secondary guy. I'm a D-line guy, so I'm always that kind of guy because I play this position. I play the D tackle, D end, so I take the trenches more important than any other position. So the D-line class is pretty damn deep. I don't know about the edge rusher. It's not like something where I'm like, oh, we got to get this guy. Nah, there's only maybe a few guys, but they're going to be gone by then.
Right. Then you just have to, start digging through there and seeing, the spots where they need to fill the holes, from whatever their depth left, whoever the free agents left, or whatever free agents were signed, we're already into that season now. But,
I mean, if you look at some edge rushers, like outside of those other guys, Chop Robinson's going to be gone. So I don't think we're going to get this guy, but he's kind of fits what we want. The only guy that I kind of like in the draft, to be honest with you, it's like not as deep. But if I had to choose a few guys that I like in the draft that are edge rushers, it would be Jonah Ellis, which he's a technician pass rusher. He is well coached because his dad's coaching at Utah as a D-line coach. This guy has technician, so he knows he's got successful under him. Then you got this speed rusher from Colorado State, Muhammad Kamara. This dude is something. He pops off the film. I like this kid. Then you got Gabriel. Gabriel Murphy is somebody that I kind of like off the tape from UCLA a little bit. But the rest of them, they're okay.
Right. That's getting back into the safeties and cornerbacks as well too. I mean, there's a plethora of ways to go. Yeah,
secondary is pretty deep. I mean, I think cornerbacks are as deeper than the safety position, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, for sure. and I'm hearing, definitely a few more coming up here, towards the end of the first round and such. Um, it's like, I don't know, some of these players, that I'm messing around with on some of these mock drafts and stuff, that
Oh, I can't hear you, dude. You're muted. You're mute. Hold on.
anyway.
Yeah, you're muted. Yeah, you're muted. Yeah. What are you gonna say?
Oh, anyway, I was just talking about, which direction, any of the directions we can go. We still got a few weeks off until, I mean, it's definitely going to be, some pro days and stuff coming up for some of these cornerbacks. And, I mean, I think that's obviously an area of, I don't ever like going, drafting for need. I think you should draft, best player overall at any given time. I mean, drafting for need is just something that successful organizations don't do.
I think
And
I think like you said, best available comes to mind. So you always want to get the best talent. But you were talking about this one kid, Cooper, man. You were pretty high on Cooper.
oh, Cooper DeJean, man, that kid's an athlete. I mean, and he's a cornerback one, and I mean, this kid is return punts, play basketball. I mean, just an athlete. I mean, for now that, I mean, they have him up around, like Green Bay Packers at like 21, I think, and Rams at like 20 or something like that, and
We'll have to trade up for him to get that guy, so that would be hard to get.
yeah, I mean, I think there is a chance, he could fall a few slots down to us, maybe possibly. But, I mean, not like we don't have the ammunition. We've got what, like 11 or 12 draft picks,
We can move up possibly. Like there's not it's out of the picture, but like besides Cooper, there's quite a few good secondary players that I do like. I mean, it's a pretty deep class. So as far as like secondary guys that I like the most is Max Melton, man. This kid fits the box. He fits where the Niners run the defense. He's a physical kind of cornerback. He's kind of like Lenore in a way, but just more of a better tackler, a guy that can be in good position. Like Max Melton just tends to check the box on everything the Niners like on the secondary.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those ones I saw coming up. He's at a Rutgers.
Yeah, his brother plays for the Packers, but getting him would be nice.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, what we have going, I mean, is the fact that we'll be in the Super Bowl picture again, next year. We just need, that little bit to put us over the top, which is one of the reasons I kept, mentioning, Wilkes and bringing in a, young, hungry defensive coordinator. I'm not sure that's been exactly what has happened, but I mean, I think that is one of the most important things.
Yeah, we're just bringing in house, I guess. So this guy, he can relate to the players. So
yeah.
I mean, what do you think of it? What do you think of this hire, like Nick Sorensen? You think he's a good hire, or you think it's kind of like I don't know about this guy?
Well, he saw the defense before Wilkes ever had anything to do with it, in 2022, which was a good thing, and having Staley come over as assistant head coach, I mean, I don't see that necessarily as it's such a bad thing, I think Shanahan just wanted to put some other things on some other people instead of all on him.
Yeah, that's true. But we'll definitely find out how that plays out. But if you had to choose a certain player besides Cooper, which secondary player do you think the Niners need to get?
Depending on later. There's that one kid out of out of Utah. What's his name? Clark something or other. Why am I missing this all of a sudden in my notes? It sucks. Anyways, but no, picking up a I think more of a cornerback would be necessary, like what you're mentioning in Melton or one of those guys. You know, some of the ones at the top, like Kool-Aid McKinstry, they're not all they're cut up to be. So and just the need for having the most drafted position in the league. I mean, and that's what we need to do, and just something to be able to get past the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, we've already proved we can beat the Cowboys repeatedly and Eagles, and I mean.
Oh, he's talking about this dude, Cole Bishop, or this guy from Utah.
There you go.
This guy right here.
That was one of them that I was thinking about. But
yeah, it's hard to say his name too, but it's so. And then there's Cole Bishop. He should be gone within the second or third round because I've heard his grades moving up draft boards. This guy Cole Bishop is a beast. Shout out to East Coast Gridiron. Shout out to my boy Notorious, and then shout out to my boy Seahawks Eddie. There's quite a few sleepers I like in the draft, but if anybody knows more about the draft, my guy East Coast Gridiron knows a lot. He's been up close, but here's a sleeper I do like that you're probably going to like the most. This kid from the Air Force, Trey Taylor. I've had a great interview with this kid, and he stands out. This guy, he pops up. He moved like if you need a backup safety or somebody who can step in as a starter down the road, Trey Taylor would be a great fit. Are there any fullbacks coming into the draft that can may not extend you? So why do you think we're okay, to answer this question for Notorious, there's a couple options who can replace Juszczyk. I'll give you a couple options. Me and I guess Will's got a little issue with his reception.
Are you MVP?
But there's a couple options that I can see the Niners go with replacing Juszczyk. Is I don't know if you were watching Larry Krueger, but he did bring up this guy named Isaac.
Can you check and see
this guy
what my doctor said? Because there's nothing at the pharmacy.
Sorry about that. I'm having technical difficulties over here.
It's all right, man. But I think when he's talking about fullbacks, I think that tight end from Ohio State, I think he's an undersized tight end. I think he would probably fill in for Juszczyk down the road because he's an undersized guy. There's J.M. Bell, yep. But then there's that running back, Orendo. I think he might be more of a fullback at the next level because you can't coach speed like that. But he's like a 225. If you add him some weight, this guy can be a really good fullback. That kid from Louisville might be a good replacement. Yeah, he's the only one that plays fullback, really. Yeah, the guy from Florida State. But I think Orendo would be a great transition because I can see where he catches the ball and it really translates how you would play that position. But I think Caden Stover would be a great fullback.
Yeah, I like I said, he can do anything on the field. I think he's. Yeah, would definitely. I would love to see that with Kittle and him and Purdy. Purdy not knowing how to use a tight end. And having double tight end sets and such. I mean,
yeah,
we've got to put some new wrinkles in somewhere.
Yeah, you're right about East Coast. He does seem about a little smaller. Like if he had 10 more pounds, he'd be good. But Larry Krueger is a draft scouter too. This guy checks out a lot of people in the NFL, but he's been pretty high on this guy. Anything that Larry Krueger says, dude, I kind of take into consideration with Larry Krueger because he does a lot of the draft and he's kind of been a GM in the past. So but he brings up this guy's name. He says if this guy comes to the Niners, we can use him as a fullback or make him add 10 more pounds, and this guy's going to be a monster. And all that stuff. But I mean, it comes from a guy who used to be a GM for the Cardinals, and I think he used to be a GM, not like a scout kind of guy. But different kind of stuff. Yeah, he would have to gain 35. Nah, actually, you know how much Juszczyk weighs? 235. Kyle Juszczyk weighs 235. Orendo would just need to add 10 more pounds, and he's good. I think Braden Willis is somebody that we're developing into a fullback, I think, from the looks of it. But I think we pretty much covered everything. So if you're good to go, bro, we can just call it a day, and then you got to go do your other show. I know you got to do your show.
Oh yeah. Well,
Well,
it's definitely been fun being here, man.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, tell everybody where they can find your platform and all that stuff, and we'll schedule something maybe before the draft or something.
Oh yeah, it's William Yanish on it's Holly13Wood on Twitter and firstroundmock.com. I mean, come see us. I mean, we'll surprise you.
Oh, yeah, for sure, bro. And thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you for the 39 people who tuned in for this show, man. Much appreciated. And shout out to all the people in the comment section. And shout out to East Coast Gridiron. Shout out to Notorious GAV. Shout out to my boy Seahawks Eddie. And shout out to everybody else, man. Have a nice day, and we'll see y'all next time. All right, man.